Hey, welcome to Friends, Life, and Ministry. And today we want to talk about a topic that God's really worked into each of our lives, and that's generosity. We're going to tell you some generosity stories of different kinds. Uh, the idea of generosity is that God gives us this amazing gift of grace. He gives us all kinds of gifts in all kinds of ways. And then we get to give gifts away to other people as a way of giving gifts back to Him. Um, Bill's recently been completing a medical treatment and has just a great story of his family kind of practicing generosity, a story we all could replicate. Bill, you want to tell us about it?
I was a part of the best cancer center up in the Seattle area. Here is called the Fred Hutch Center, and this is the coin they gave me yesterday because I completed my proton radiation, 33 treatments of that, and my family came down to surprise me at the end. My daughter and husband and her two boys, and then two couples from my small group at the church came to be there and to celebrate that day with me and my wife. And as we were there, my daughter had put together just a really nice letter. We had taken a picture of our whole family together a couple of years ago now on our 50th wedding anniversary. And we had that picture. We were all looking kind of goofy, and they were trying to look like 50s people. And she wrote just about, you don't really know us. You've seen our father. He is so important to us, and we just wanted to let you know again how much we appreciate you working to preserve his life. I've got cancer and have been going under treatment. Started, I think, February 2nd was the day we started, and I'm still good ways, long ways from being done. But one thing I found out was that I never saw any kind of gifts or anything. Like when you see stuff on the counter or somebody had left a present for somebody. There was nothing ever that I saw there, and so I did a survey of the people in the proton treatment center, and I said, "Let me give you." We go to Costco. Uh, Five things I've seen there. One is they've got these sea salted caramels that are really good. The other is, they've got nuts, a lot of different kind of mixed nuts, nuts and chocolate. They've got different kinds of these little sausages, and then larger sausage things, and they've got several things like that. Anything you would add to the list or a vote, and they voted unanimously that what they wanted was the sausage sticks, the little tiny sausage sticks. And
These
so
are
I bought
healthcare
them.
providers.
Say again?
I said these are healthcare providers.
Yeah. And so we got them some sausage sticks, and the first time it was actually right around Easter. So I got them the Reese's peanut butter eggs,
Yep.
and said,
Nice.
my family, we celebrate Easter. It's a great day, and we want to, give you something. And so those things kind of created. So yesterday, when my daughter gave them this letter, thank you. This was the end of 33 treatments for me, and you've been with our dad, and blah blah blah. And then I'm thinking, as I watched, we're in the lobby. You ring the bell three times when your treatment is over, and so some of the staff was out there, and the people that were out there who had taken care of me, Kate was one of the most, and as they're standing there watching two families from my small group, my wife, my daughter and her family, uh, and we're talking and celebrating, and then she gave them each a bag with some more treats in it and a picture of the family, just saying, thank you so very much. And then we went outside into the lobby area, and we just prayed outside, just outside the front door. And I look, and they're all still watching us. And I'm thinking, what an opportunity it was to show Christian generosity to people who probably actually don't get much of that, and to give them some special gifts to celebrate this day. And I think sometimes, Paul, we miss those opportunities.
That's a great word. Thoughts
Yep.
on that, John or Steve?
Steve, go ahead.
Well, what I would like to share is if you've had a good income, it's pretty easy to give. We're commanded to give. And so seeing the unique way that Bill handled that, I think was very special. Um, One of the ways that, especially my wife, we had a 90, well, now she's coming up on 95 years old, widow who lived across the street from us. And she ended up having a stroke about a year and a half, a little bit more than that ago. And it affected her, primarily her left arm. And she has some forgetfulness, maybe quite a bit of forgetfulness. And while we lived in this neighborhood, we were very close to her. She had gone to a sister church of ours in the city, loved God. And Lynn goes and sees her every day. So this ends up affecting our travel plans and everything else. It usually is about 3 hours, and they talk usually about exactly the same things as they did the day before. And then I go and I clip her toenails and her fingernails because Lynn doesn't want to do that. I didn't realize that bothered people, but that doesn't bother me in the least. And then Lynn will paint her toenails and paint her fingernails, and she just it's sad. Her children have died. She has grandchildren in Tennessee, and they aren't involved in her life at all. And so she has a wonderful sister-in-law that lives 3 hours away, who handles all of the the financial things and stuff like that. But just every day having my wife go there, and she asks if we're going to be gone. Is there any way that you can get out of it? Lynn is going to be going on an Alaskan cruise with an 86-year-old woman from church that um, really is doing well, and she is a dear friend. Um, and that will be a week. And so she's been asking, her name is Goldie. Goldie's been asking Lynn if maybe she could skip the Alaskan cruise. So I'll be going each day in order to try to spend time. One of the things that she does is she'll ask her if there's anything that sounds good. And a lot of times the food there is just fine, but she'll have a kind of a hankering for something. And she likes Wendy's chili. And so once a week, Lynn will bring her Wendy's chili, and she likes she has a desire for salty things, so she likes potato chips, but she can't open the bag with one hand. And so Lynn puts them in little Ziploc bags that aren't closed. They have a little clothespin that she puts on them, and Lynn has just been so invested in this person's life. It makes me so proud. And to me, that is a level of generosity that, or a type of generosity that all of us could do. And
Both of you are so inspiring with that. I just feel inspired by Bill's story and the idea that getting those treatments, of making it special for the staff, and Steve's story and Lynn's story of saying, here's someone that it'd be real easy to, to forget, to just say, no, I'm not going to forget you. I'm going to lavish you with love and grace. Just real inspiring.
One thing that makes me a little bit sad, I think that many of our listeners are pastors or younger pastors. They have to be younger after 200 years of experience, right? But I would encourage you to visit, don't look at visiting people who are homebound or whatever as a chore. The church that she had attended not once has a pastor come, and they have a large staff. They have some elders' wives that have done that. But I just think as a pastor, you don't want to hand that off at all. I just see that as a critical part. And one of the things I always encourage pastors to do if they're visiting somebody in the hospital is take your watch off. Because even if you don't mean to, we look at our watch and that gives a signal that
That's a great thought.
you want to leave. So it just be generous in visiting those people.
John, can you encourage us with the generosity story?
There's so many. I mean, I could tell you stories of times where people have given, that where they took off their wedding rings and earrings and watches, or where people came and gave their very advanced cameras in a collection because they had nothing else to give, but they gave what they had. And I've seen that kind of commitment towards the needs of people or towards new initiatives, new church plants. I've seen people give everything, and I really that I was like, what do I do with this gold? That we had to bring in people to check and to weigh the gold and then to buy the gold from us because we didn't know really what to do and how to handle these situations. And it's not because we have those deep, compassionate kind of sermons on giving where you actually feel, to be honest, which can be tremendously manipulative. But just waiting upon the Lord. I mean, even last week we had a collection where I was asked to lead a collection, and we had a special purpose for finishing things in our facility, and we were only a handful of people from our church. This is a rather small new it's a church plant, it's a site which has not so many people, and I thought like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen because not even half of the church was there. But we said let's just share the need, and I share the need, and I said like, okay, now we have this opportunity together, so let's now wait upon God. Let's just take 5 minutes in prayer. And people came afterwards and said like, okay, when you started with the collection, I was thinking about this amount or this amount or this amount. We needed we needed 25,000 kroner, which is not so much. It's like $2,500. But for a small church, that was quite a bit. We had found another couple that was going to say up to $2,500 we're going to double. So we really prayed for like 2,500 because we were going to get $5,000 then. Anyway, to make a long story short, people said like, okay, I was planning one thing, and as I was in prayer and listening to God, I had to change. And for me, that's like to be willing to listen to God, to not assume that we know based on the numbers that we have on our bank account, but to actually let God speak. And so a handful of people actually collected, and the person who checked it had to count 3 times because the exact amount was 25,000 kroner. But then I heard testimonies afterwards, even this last week, where people said, I had this amount in my mind. This is what I used to give when there was a special need. But when I listened to God, he said this, and he said that, and he said such. And for me, that's really the heart of generosity, is to be willing and to dare to listen to God. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
How about you,
story.
Paul? You had a good story?
Yeah, just commenting on John's story, I love that story. And I love the idea of teaching people to hear from God, and then what they hear, believe it into action. And, what a moment where you get exactly the amount, that couples committed to give $2,500 as matching funds, and exactly that amount comes in as people hear from God. The learning from that and the experience of that is going to shape people for years and years to come. So I just
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear that story. I I think when I think of generosity stories, of seeing, like Steve was describing, seeing where people were willing to give time and attention, and that's so powerful. I kind of love, sometimes when I'm praying, it's like God goes, make it special. Just make it. Don't give just what, don't just give what you would normally do, just to be acceptable or nice, but make it special. And sometimes to me, that's like writing a really nice card, giving more financially than you would think you would give, giving time to that person, giving affirmation to that person. And um, so my stories are often that when I sense God leading that and I follow those, how much it can mean to people, how much words of affirmation or the time you give or the financial gift. I think what Bill was doing, for all those medical workers that, yeah, they get paid for their job, but now they're getting this unique experience of being celebrated and thanked by a generous heart. That just makes a difference. For the example in Steve's neighborhood, when he and Lynn kind of give this extraordinary love to this woman Goldie, I find that so inspiring.
And it's
I
rare.
just
It
would
really is
encourage all
rare.
of you to do that.
Yeah.
What do you
Amen.
think, Bill?
Paul, good. You started a church 37 years ago, 38 years ago,
5.
35. Okay.
Yeah, 35.
Okay. I wasn't sure. We both, sometime we'll talk about church planting, but we started churches 20 miles apart. And sometimes I forget when he left in the process of the new church start that I did. But anyway, after 35 years, you have stepped down as the lead pastor, and you are a voluntary pastor with generosity. Isn't that right? Your
Right.
title? Could you explain a little bit of what you're hoping to accomplish so that maybe our viewers could understand the importance of leadership helping direct people into generosity?
Yeah, I think of generosity as like a second conversion experience. It's where you really believe that God's grace can tangibly be experienced in your life, that you can have miracles like what John was just describing. So I try to teach everyone that I can, in any way that I can, that the generous life is the best life. That's the joyful life. And the acts of generosity that you do will be the best use of your money, the best use of your time, the best use of your talent. And for me, going to be going where I'm an unpaid, I decided I would be unpaid. So I don't accept honoraria if I speak someplace. It's real weird for people, like, because they will sometimes have an honoraria check prepared, and I go, I don't receive honoraria anymore. And part of that came out. I'm hitting this year where I will been in ministry for 50 years and be married for 50 years. And
Amazing.
I can remember back when the first year when I started and thinking, God, wouldn't it be cool if you let me be a pastor for 50 years and be married for 50 years? And also just what the Bible teaches about the year of Jubilee, that kind of in the 50th year is the year of Jubilee. Everything returns back to its original form. And I thought, all my ministry, I said I would do this for nothing. That And then I thought, well, what if in the Jubilee year I just did that? And I've just had so much fun, doing the work that I do, and not doing it for compensation. And so we'll be saying a lot more about generosity as we go on with our program, but we are for people that, if we look at what kept us going for 50 years each in ministry through the hard times and difficult times, one big piece of that has been living generous lives. Well, that's all the time we have. We would love you to subscribe to our channel. We would love if you'd submit questions, and we would love if you have a specific issue, we'd arrange a time where we could talk with you and help you. But for today, be generous, and thanks for watching.